Hello Business 120 students. This is Dr. David DeSaro, Director of the Writing Center here at Endicott College, and this video will be talking to you today about writing and presenting for business audiences. And the video is actually broken up into two parts. The first being the writing aspect, and the second being presentation skills. But just to give you an overview, in terms of writing skills, we're going to be talking about the purpose behind your writing, and I would say that creating and composing a PowerPoint also falls under writing skills as well. The audience, who is it that you're going to be creating this presentation or writing for? What's the genre you're going to be working in? So predominantly it's going to be a PowerPoint for this particular assignment you have with your group members. We'll talk about some rhetorical concepts like pathos, logos, and ethos, and what those things mean in the context of researching and writing. And then, of course, presentation skills and other resources that are available. But to begin, writing, composing skills, when we're talking about whether it's conducting a case study or it's doing a PowerPoint presentation of some sort, you have to have an understanding of some rhetorical concepts. And the first is, what is your purpose? What is it that you have been instructed to do? Is it that you have to look at a specific company and create a new advertising plan? Is it that you are looking at a company and trying to analyze a specific problem that they may have and offer some recommendations for a way to improve in certain areas regarding that company? What is your purpose? So talk to your instructor, clarify exactly what it is you and your group members have to do. That's a good place to start. The other question is, essentially, why are you writing? Why are you composing? Why are you creating this PowerPoint? And I think inevitably the answer is generally almost always to persuade somebody of something. You're trying to get somebody to think a certain way, to perhaps act a certain way, to take action in a certain kind of way. So ultimately, it's to persuade an audience. But the question then is, who is that audience? Who are you presenting to? Is it to employers? Is it to fellow coworkers or team members? Is it to customers? Is it to members of the board? Is it to stockholders, investors? Whoever the audience is will dictate a little bit of how you're going to compose, how you're going to present, and the information you may include. And of course, yes, your instructor, because they're giving you a grade, is an audience for this piece, but you want to think a little bit more broadly as well. The genre, what form? So there's various types of business writing, right? Business letters, memos, reports. Again, for this, you're giving an oral presentation as well as having a visual to supplement that presentation. Rhetorical concepts, these harken back to Aristotle. Pathos, it's an appeal to emotion. So again, depending on who that audience is, maybe you'll have some emotional appeals. And a good example of this is thinking of BP, so the oil company, when there was the spill in the Gulf, right? And then they had all of the commercials and all of this campaigning to show how much they cared to clean up the Gulf, how well they treated their employees, how they would have people that had lived in the Gulf for X amount of years that were now working for BP. They're trying to appeal to the audience's emotions, to persuade them that, hey, we messed up, but we're still good guys, so please, keep investing in us, right? Logos, appeal to logic, appeal to reasoning, right? Action A plus action B will lead to C. This clear thought of action that follows some sort of logical order or reasoning. And ethos, appeal to authority, appeal to credibility. What you folks should be concerned with is your own personal credibility and the credibility of your group. So the big question then is, how do you establish your credibility? How do you establish your ethos? And these are some of the things that we'll talk about more in depth here in a second. But first is knowing your purpose in your audience, which we've discussed briefly already, sticking to genre conventions so that you're doing the things you need to do within the confines of that particular genre, such as a PowerPoint. Do your research so you know what you're talking about. Address potential counter-arguments or counterpoints of view. Presenting your ideas clearly and concisely, and of course, proofreading. So the first part of doing your research, use authoritative sources for your field. So it could be journal articles, it could be case studies, it could be business reports, corporate websites, etc. Again, depending on your assignment, depending on the companies you're looking at, there might be various things that are considered authoritative sources. So the company's website certainly could be an authoritative source. The annual report of that company could be a very legitimate authoritative source. The big thing, though, when using sources is don't let those sources write for you. You use them to supplement your thoughts, your ideas. You're not letting all those sources speak for you. Again, certain information you might have to include kind of verbatim. If there's a certain profit that was made a certain year, you have to use that source in that particular kind of way. But that you're not just reading it to us, you're incorporating it into some sort of relevant information. Introduce outside sources. So when you're writing or when you're giving an oral presentation, that we know where this information is coming from. According to so-and-so, right? So we have that sort of pause and know that, okay, this is coming from someplace other than the person that's speaking to me or other than the person that's writing to me. You want to cite your sources thoroughly. So whether it's on the PowerPoint itself, whether it's in a document you produce, wherever, we want to have a clear citation so we know where that information came from and that hopefully we can track it down to later on ourselves. So that could be, again, at your instructor's discretion on the PowerPoint itself, somewhere in the notes, perhaps as just a slide, references slide, going with whatever. Double check with your instructor for that. The other thing, too, is to explain why these sources are important to your purpose. Again, that you're not just using them to fill time, to just, I'm giving a bunch of background here, right? That it's clear why you're using these certain sources, that they're being utilized for some sort of distinct purpose. So the question is what to cite, ideas, words. These could be summaries, paraphrases, direct quotations. Okay, any of those things need to be cited. Okay, a paraphrase, just as a brief aside, it's not just putting things into your own words, it's also changing the sentence structure, the rhythm, the way in which that particular thought or idea or words are expressed needs to be part of the paraphrasing process as well. Page numbers are only needed for direct quotes. That's according to the APA 6th edition. Your instructor might say, regardless, I want to always have a page number, and that's totally fine as well. And again, since you're in business, you will be citing an APA for in-text, references pages, on your PowerPoints, etc. Addressing counter-arguments. Let's say again that you are presenting a recommendation for a course of action that this company needs to take. Well, what alternatives exist? Yours isn't the only one, okay, so why is yours the best, in relation to these other alternatives? Why is your idea the best for this situation? And is your idea the best for the situation? It may not be, or it may take a couple years, right, to pay off, but you need to, again, express that clearly to an audience so that it enhances your credibility. You've thought about all the possible eventualities. What do others have to contribute or add to your idea? So again, where are you going to be pulling information from? All those things help enhance your credibility. Presenting ideas clearly and concisely. So you want to organize your ideas logically. Things should have a clear beginning, middle, and end. We should know where we're going. And that could be, again, in your writing, but also in your presentations as well, that you're handing off ideas between team members. So for example, now so-and-so will talk about blank aspect of the company, right? We get those clear markers of where we're going. Keeping ideas parallel follows a similar idea of organizing your ideas. Should go without saying to use non-sexist language, to be politically correct in your presentation of information, choose active over passive voice, and keeping it simple, avoid wordiness. You want clarity, you want concision, you don't want to have too much. And of course, proofread. Nothing can kill your credibility quicker, more quickly than having those kind of common mistakes or errors. So know what your little errors are that you commonly have. Double check those things with the find feature or words edit feature. And also you have group members, right? You should have everybody look over everybody else's slides. Proofread those things, read them aloud to yourselves, read them aloud to each other, print them out. It may sound silly to read aloud to yourself or to your group members, but it helps you to catch some of those errors you wouldn't otherwise find. So I'm going to pause right here. We're going to go on to the next video in a second on presentation skills, and I'll see you folks on the other side.